Welcome back, folks. A restart. We'll try this again. YouTube clearly messing with this channel. They are demonic in trying to stop it. I don't understand why, what their obsession is. But thank you for tuning back into the premiere episode of the Mayflower Compact here on @RealChris Wyatt. And we'll get started in just a moment. Make sure this connection just sticks and see how the sound is. Clearly messing with this channel. They are. Okay, the sound is good. All right, so let's go ahead and get to it. Wow. Very frustrating what's going on here with YouTube messing with us. We're now a good 20 minutes behind. And suddenly no data is coming through again. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Not receiving enough video to maintain. There's nothing wrong with the video feed. My internet connection is fine. Yeah, and I'm skipping ahead and I can't see the live broadcast. This is crazy. They do this to me periodically. It's not my internet service provider, and yeah, it's buffering a bit on this end too. Nothing I can do about it, folks. I may switch over to my other channel if this continues. So hang in there, and I will do it on the other channel if necessary. But we'll try to go forward with it from this pace right here. Thank you for tuning in. Apologies for the jumping around, and I appreciate your patience. Once again, back to what the Mayflower Compact is. In 1620, this agreement, which was first called the Mayflower Compact in 1793, was a legal instrument that bound the Pilgrims together when they arrived in New England. The core members of the Pilgrims immigrant group were separatist, members of a Puritan sect that had split from the Church of England, which of course was the only legal church in England at that time after Henry VIII had a schism from the Catholic Church. Others in the group, however, had remained part of the Church of England, so not all of the Pilgrims shared the same religion. When the Pilgrims left England, they obtained permission from the King of England to settle on land farther to the south near the mouth of the Hudson River at the site of present-day New York City. Because they chose to remain where they landed in New England, they needed new permission, in other words, a patent, to settle there from the king. On November 11, 1620, needing to maintain order and establish a civil society while waiting for this new patent, the adult male passengers signed the Mayflower Compact. And in part it reads, having undertaken for the glory of God and advancement of the Christian faith in honor of our king and country, a voyage to plant the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia. Everything at the time was considered Virginia, but later became Massachusetts. Do by these presents solemnly and mutually in the presence of God and one of another, covenant and combine ourselves together in a civil body politic for our better ordering and preservation and furtherance of the ends aforesaid. And by virtue hereof to enact, constitute, and frame such just and equal laws, ordinances, acts, constitutions, and offices from time to time, as shall be thought most meet and convenient for the general good of the colony, unto which we promise all due submission and obedience. In witness whereof we have hereunder subscribed our names at Cape Cod, the 11th of November, in the year of our reign of our sovereign Lord King James of England, France, and Ireland, the 18th, and of Scotland, the 54th, Anno Domini 1620. The Mayflower Compact was reportedly signed by 41 of the 50 male passengers aboard the Mayflower, and all but one of the free men signed it. 3 of the 5 hired men and 2 of the 9 servants signed this compact. Now, why am I calling this the Mayflower Compact? It is a historic document that was the coming together of free citizens to freely associate and form a body politic, a polity, to govern themselves, to establish order, and to ensure domestic tranquility. And this is the early basis for what became the United States in 1776. So the Mayflower Compact is quite important in the history of the United States, but it's often forgotten today. And in order to talk about issues of relevance to the American political scene and to America and to our Constitution, our system of governance, I thought it more than appropriate to name this segment the Mayflower Compact. And with that, we're going to talk tonight about the implosion of Kamala Harris and her campaign. Tonight, presidential candidate Vice President Kamala Harris failed to attend, breaking tradition, the Al Smith fundraising dinner for the Catholic Church in New York City. The last presidential candidate to break tradition and not attend that dinner was Walter Mondale in 1984. Some may remember that in 1984, Walter Mondale was nearly wiped off the plate by Ronald Reagan, winning just a single state out of 49 losses and 1 win. The one state that he won was his home state of Minnesota. Big surprise. Walter Mondale, the last presidential candidate to skip the Catholic fundraiser, the Al Smith dinner. So Donald Trump went tonight, and he was told there was no teleprompter. So he prepared a speech, and he had his speech folks put some jokes in the speech. He said he didn't want to do jokes, but they said you have to do jokes. So they put it in the speech. And Jim Gaffigan did a fantastic job up there. He's very entertaining, just a few off-color, inappropriate jokes about both sides of the political aisle, but very funny. Jim Gaffigan was brilliant. It was well done. But Jim Gaffigan had a teleprompter. So Trump gets up and says, I was told there was no teleprompter. And son of a gun, there was a teleprompter. Son of a gun, there was a teleprompter. And so Trump has been set up. And when they switched from Gaffigan to Trump, they zoomed in on Trump. And for 5 minutes, we were shown a blurry image of Trump, no doubt to undermine his speech. And then in addition to that, his microphone suddenly started making noise, even though he wasn't touching them, even though he wasn't moving any papers. They made no noise when Gaffigan was up there. So that also seems to have been an effort to undermine Trump's performance, but he was brilliant and entertaining. For her part, Kamala Harris, who refused to come to the dinner, suddenly had a video. Now, the whole thing was staged because they used what's-her-name from Saturday Night Live to come out and play her ridiculous, insulting young Catholic schoolgirl character, and it was ridiculous. Scripted, all fake. And so we were told that she couldn't make it. There was a scheduling conflict, which was a lie. She didn't want to be there because the Catholics would have excoriated her. And so she recorded this video, and it was just asinine. Donald Trump was present, and he was entertaining, and he was quite interesting, to say the least. But in snubbing the Catholics at the Al Smith dinner, Kamala Harris has made another fatal mistake in her campaign. Folks, it's one mistake after another. It's a gaffe machine known as Kamala Harris. At this stage, those who staged the palace coup in pushing Joe Biden aside are probably regretting their decision to put their money behind this nag. This is the worst horse in the race. Kamala Harris is nothing but a nag. The actors behind the scenes, the ones pulling the genuine levers of power in America, panicked this past summer when it became clear that indicted, convicted, accused, and demonized Donald Trump was mopping the floor with dementia-afflicted Joe Biden. In setting up an unprecedented June debate, unheard of, prior to the conventions for the Democrats and the Republicans, the Democrats either led arrogant and disconnected Joe into a trap or somehow thought that he might do well and stem the tide. I tend to believe the former, that this was an effort by Barack Obama, Susan Rice, and that cabal, along with the corporate elites in the banking sector on Wall Street and in the corporate boardrooms of the big oligarchs of America. It was an intentional effort to expose Joe Biden, for who most of us who are paying attention knew, a demented, foolish lunatic who can't climb a flight of stairs. And in doing so, force him to withdraw. So I believe it was the former. They led him into a trap. And his arrogance, oh, I can take on Trump, led him right into that trap. So they led a palace coup in which they selected, not elected, the Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris, the border czar, the Democratic candidate for president in 2020, who received less than 1% of the vote from Democrats. Yet, apparently, Republicans are responsible. Remember that? In 2020, when Kamala Harris left the race, they blamed Republicans in Iowa. Republicans are responsible. They're racist. They won't vote for a black woman. Number one, she's not black. Number two, Republicans don't vote in the Iowa caucus for Democrats, only for Republicans. So it was just all lies. Nothing but lies from these Democrats constantly. Now, the folks who are advising Kamala Harris have managed to turn Biden's Stalingrad with the June debate into Kamala Harris's Waterloo with the Brett Baier interview. Oh my goodness. We've gone from Stalingrad, in which the tide was turned against the demon rat machine in late June with Biden's pathetic performance and then the palace coup. And now we've reached Waterloo with the self-implosion and hubris of a candidate, as Napoleon's hubris, thinking he could defeat Nelson and others. Wow. Stalingrad to Waterloo. It's over, folks. This will be an electoral landslide. And at this point, it may even be a popular vote win and possibly a significant win for Donald Trump. Beginning with the fawning fake press when she was anointed as their candidate, the fact that she held no press conferences, taking no questions. She had no policies until of late, and most of her policies are simply copycat of Trump or their revisions of what she said in the past. The softball appearances on oral sex podcasts like Call Her Daddy, among others, and Charlemagne, the arrogant god. Celebrity endorsements like Taylor Swift. Turncoat Republicans in name-only endorsements. Wall Street, corporate oligarchs, and others pouring $1 billion of wasted money into her coffers in record time. Trotting out arrogant asshat Barry Obama, who then insults black men as if they lack agency and are unable to think for themselves, telling them they're misogynists if they don't vote for her. Losing groups one after the other. Black men, Hispanics, unions, law enforcement officers, Catholics, Muslims, Arabs, white men, all fleeing her imploding, pandering campaign. And then tonight, another nail in Kamala Harris's coffin. The Al Smith dinner snub. On her recent interview on one of the softball programs, she was asked, I think it was the Dystopian View, if she would change something. And she said, I can't think of a thing that I would change from the past 4 years. Wow. On top of that, she trots out a radical America-hating socialist version of Elmer Fudd in Stolen Valor, Little Timmy Tampon Waltz. As I speak tonight, folks, Donald Trump is ahead in the popular vote across multiple national polls, leading her by 2 points on average. And it's far worse for Harris. For the first time, Donald Trump leads in all 7 battleground states. For over a month now, I have been predicting an electoral landslide for Donald Trump in a free and fair election. Tonight, it seems America is beginning to catch up with me. Make no mistake, the inept, racist negligence of the Biden-Harris regime in its glacial response to the Hurricane Helene disaster could conceivably cost Trump North Carolina, where most of Western North Carolina is overwhelmingly Trump country, and much of that area is simply gone. People will be unable to vote, apparently. Nonetheless, even if he loses North Carolina, Donald Trump wins this election. This afternoon, on the radio, returning from my medical scan, for the first time ever, I heard her speaking without watching her do so. Every time I've ever heard Kamala Harris speak, I've seen her face. This was the first time I just heard her voice. This woman has an incredibly whiny, patronizing, and arrogant presence if you're only hearing her. Her snarky responses to Brett Baer last night speak volumes about who she is, as her insincere response when Univision asked her to say 3 things about her opponent that are positive. And she said one thing, he believes in his family or something like that. Then she couldn't answer the other 2. She said, I can't think of anything. I really don't know him. Folks, that's crap. That's total crap. She has no problem calling him a racist, constantly declaring him a threat to democracy, calling him bankrupt, calling him a criminal. If she doesn't know him, how can she say such negative things about him? Kamala Harris is a fraud. She's a moron. She's a grifter, and she's accomplished absolutely nothing in her entire life. And that is my opening statement for this Mayflower Compact, folks. All right, let me get to the chat and see who's in the chat and address some of your questions. It looks like the only people here are my faithful audience from my original or from my other channel. Thank you for being here, folks. All right, let me say hello to everybody. We won't go long tonight, probably about 30 minutes of this inaugural one since we had to reset it, and I'll delete the other one. Pablo Charlie is here from Hester Coates is here from South Africa. Hendo is here from the UK. Janet Liddy in South Carolina, Indigo Country. And then we've got Hendo. I already said that already. And who else? Shawnee is here. Welcome back, Shawnee. Dave Ranke says, I believe the betting chart in Vegas is now 38,62 Trump. That's probably true. Did you see Trump on the PD? I did not see it. I saw a clip from that. One of his most interesting podcast interview. I didn't see it. They were actually considering going on Joe Rogan. That reeks of desperation. Well, Trump is going on Joe Rogan, and Kamala Harris apparently is planning on going on Rogan too. I don't know. Pork Leaker says, I'm so sorry, sir. What are you sorry about, Pork Leaker? What are you sorry about? I missed something. Chris Marie's here. Welcome to Chris Marie. I'm looking forward to Joe Rogan interviewing Trump just because of the reach, Joe. Yeah, I was going to say, Dave, that's the only reason that that's of any interest to me is because his reach is like, Elon Musk interviewing him. It's huge. Anyway. Oh, sorry, I had listened to Kamala. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it was pathetic. It was staged. First off, she snubbed the dinner. Then we were told the reason that she snubbed it, she couldn't make it. And then she has a rehearsed, scripted Saturday Night Live actor, who's one of the worst actors on that show ever, come on and do this ridiculous, insulting thing to Catholicism. Folks, I'm not Catholic, but I respect people of faith, and I've always had respect for the Catholics. even though I fundamentally disagree with their doctrine and I hate their Pope. Their Pope is a racist, anti-white, anti-Western, socialist scumbag, and he needs to shut his mouth and, resign like the German guy did and let someone else do it. Yeah, one of the best jokes of the night was fantastic. Donald Trump was talking, and you're supposed to do this. It's sort of a mini roast, the two candidates. And Donald Trump was talking about the race, and he said that, have you heard about the white dudes for Harris? Yeah, there's a group of white dudes for Harris. He said, I'm not worried about them. They're all going to vote for Kamala Harris, but all their wives and their wives' lovers are voting for me. Oh, smack. Oh, my goodness. Snap. That was incredible, man. That was so funny. The white dudes for Harris are voting for Kamala Harris, but it's okay because all their wives and their wives' lovers are voting for me. Yeah, I heard someone say changing Joe Biden for Kamala is like crapping your pants and then changing your shirt. Yeah, exactly. Look, folks, you heard it here first. I will be the first to say this. I've heard no one else say it. It's an original thought on my part. It's Joe Biden's late June. I keep saying July, but it was late June. It was right when I came back from South Africa. Just when I returned, that thing happened. But Joe Biden's late June implosion in that stage debate that the Democratic Party set him up for to remove him in a palace coup, that was Stalingrad. That's what the Wehrmacht and the SS reached their apex. They could go no further, and that was the beginning of the end for the Nazi regime. That was the beginning of the end for the Democrats and their destruction of America. Stalingrad was that debate. Last night, Kamala Harris, in her condescending, arrogant, whiny, disrespectful, and refusal to answer any questions interview with Bret Baier on Fox News, that was her Waterloo. The moment that an arrogant, hubristic Napoleon was defeated by a coalition of nations. And much like Waterloo, when the Brits and Prussians and Dutch and many others teamed up to defeat Napoleon and his resurrected army after he came back from Elba, much like Waterloo, Kamala Harris will be defeated by a coalition of white men, soccer moms, Jews, black men, Hispanics, Catholics, unions. She will be destroyed at the polls. This won't even be close. Won't even be close. Yeah, she couldn't handle the bear on Fox News. That's good. That's good. Appreciate the history. One of my favorite subjects. Yeah, well, it's exactly what we got going on here, folks. The Nazi regime reached its peak penetration of the Soviet Union at Stalingrad, and Hitler foolishly focused obsessively on Stalingrad rather than simply bypassing like they had done throughout the conflict, and it led to the loss of over 600,000 men in the 6th Army under Field Marshal von Paulus. 91,000 of them were taken alive as prisoner, and 10 years later, only 5,000 of them came back alive to Germany. The other 86,000 died in the march into the gulags, in the labor camps, in the Urals, or died in captivity. 600,000 men, most of them Germans, some of them Romanians, some of them Italians, lost their lives because of Hitler's hubris. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are destroying the Democratic Party. They've had lots of willing accomplices, but remember Barack Obama's 2008 mantra, hope and change? Where's that hope and change now? Non-existent, folks. The Democrats, just like the African National Congress in South Africa, a party in denial, a party that is collapsing in real time. Kamala Harris's campaign has suffered one body blow after another. The inept response, the racist refusal to assist North Carolinians, overwhelmingly white, rural Trump voters, ignored by the Biden regime for 8 days. They can lie all they want about hundreds of millions of dollars being dispersed. But their response, their failure to get helicopters in the air to rescue people while they were still alive before they died under debris, will forever be a burden on the Demon Rat Party. Iran, whom Barack Hussein Obama and Joe Biden enriched with hundreds of billions of dollars immorally, illegally given money, and $195 billion windfall from the inept domestic and foreign policy of Joseph Biden and Kamala Harris, leading to windfall profits of nearly $200 billion over the past 4 years, the Biden regime. money used to fund Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. That Iran launching nearly 200 ballistic missiles at Israel, murdering civilians indiscriminately. That country enabled, enriched, and weaponized by Biden, Harris, and Obama. Unbelievable, folks. This woman doesn't have an original thought. This woman hasn't accomplished anything in her entire life. I'm sorry to say this woman, but she is a woman. I don't really care about her genitalia, but we know who she is. They turned away choppers and pilots. I know something. Yes, pork leaker. I know. And they also denied access to drones. Now, listen to this. No National Guard, no active duty. Fort Bragg, Fort Liberty, whatever the hell we're calling it now. Fort Liberty. Fort Bragg is in North Carolina. Camp Lejeune is in North Carolina. Marines and Army troops, active duty, are there in the tens of thousands within an hour or less of airtime by helicopter, and there are tons of helicopters at Fort Bragg. Why was the active duty force there? Where was the Ministry or the Department of Defense? Where is Lloyd Austin? We respond to disasters. Now, George Bush was falsely accused of ignoring people in Hurricane Katrina. Those are lies. I worked in the Pentagon, and I can tell you the force flow. We had over 10,000 personnel in place before the storm hit, with approximately 200 helicopters deployed throughout the Gulf states of Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, and Louisiana, with the biggest focus in Louisiana, plus tens of thousands of vehicles ready. Within 6 days of the hurricane happening, we had 126,000 Department of Defense military uniformed personnel doing disaster response relief. And we evacuated 18,900 people by helicopter from New Orleans alone after the hurricane. By contrast, 7 days after Helene had hit, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris had yet to make an appearance in North Carolina. FEMA was not on the ground. But Pete Buttigieg was busy telling people that if you fly your drones, we will incarcerate you. No federal assets in the air, no state assets in the air to rescue people trapped in trees, to rescue people washed away in floods, to rescue people buried under rubble, to find people, to search for people. No search and rescue teams, no SAR missions going on. Where was the Civil Air Patrol? They were probably doing something. But private citizens were the only ones responding on the ground with drones, with light aircraft, with trucks, with mules, and they were threatened by this corrupt regime. Why? Because they knew North Carolina, western part of Carolina, is overwhelmingly rural, overwhelmingly white, and overwhelmingly Trump country. And in their eyes, as many dead Western Carolinians as possible, as many disconnected, no roads, no water, no homes, no hope, disillusioned, angry folks who can't get to the polls, that would cost him North Carolina. That was their hope. And I hope it backfires on them. Hendo, they will be retrieving bodies for decades. There are hundreds of people missing, some of whom will never be found. Entire homes, bodies were torn apart in the tumbling water and debris, ripped into pieces, buried under mountains of debris. What I know about Northrop Grumman's B-2 Spirit strategic stealth. Not much I can talk about. There's the B-2 bomber by Rockwell, but you're talking about very different aircraft, correct? Yeah. I know the long line workers that went down there, their own time. FEMA and Biden are arresting people. Exactly. Hit the like button. Please do so. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. In fact, the Trump Now's RF Candace team tells America will have a huge change for the better health-wise. Well, Americans have to want to change. I don't weigh 300 pounds. I have all the resources in the world to be obese and lazy, but I don't weigh 300 pounds, despite the fact I can barely walk right now because of my hip. It takes personal responsibility. She's an authoritarian woman. Okay, you're right, Pablo. It was so annoying to watch Kamala not answering nearly all the questions. I think she only answered one. Yeah, she didn't answer them. So let me be very clear. Brett. This is a good question. People want an answer to it. Well, yeah, they do. Do you have any regrets, any remorse for Laken Riley and others? But Donald Trump. But Donald Trump. But Donald Trump. Wow. That is arrogance of the highest order. Anyway, folks, Kamala Harris's campaign is imploding. Donald Trump is now ahead in every single poll that we've confined in all 7 battleground states. Tonight, I'm going to once again go through. Dave Rankin just gave 70 rands. I know it's not much, but thank you for all you do, Colonel. We appreciate you big time. You're very, very kind of you, Dave. Thank you for the 70 rand. It's something, and I appreciate it. Look, and I hope and I believe that most of my dedicated viewers appreciate the fact that I'm heavily censored on this platform and that I don't do this for fame or glory, and I make a lot of money when I devote my time to consulting. But rather than do that, I spend most of my time focusing on delivering a message to people. Am I unbiased? No. Nobody lacks bias. We all have bias. Am I objective? You damn Skippy, I'm objective. Yep. Tonight, Trump made an off-color comment. A couple of them I thought wildly inappropriate. He was talking about Mayor de Blasio, and he said "shiat," and I was like, no, that's inappropriate. Not at a Catholic event. But I will objectively analyze folks. Anyway, whether they're in my court or they're not in my court. I met with a friend today who's deeply enmeshed in politics for decades here in central Pennsylvania. We talked about this, and I'm not going to say we're feeling good, but we were feeling concern not that long ago. Harris mentioned the cartels in her Fox News interview. Yes, she falsely claimed that she is the only person to have prosecuted transnational crime. That's a lie. A search of all the criminal cases on the docket when she was the Attorney General and when she was the District Attorney in San Francisco and in Sacramento will find that her name appears on virtually no legal cases, either as lead counsel or co-counsel. Kamala Harris is taking credit for what her underlings did. Now, she could take credit for coming up with a strategy to do it, but that's not what she's doing. She didn't say that I led the team that was responsible for no, she said I am the one to prosecute. That's a lie. She didn't do it. Everything she says is a lie. Donald Trump has filed for bankruptcy 6 times. No, he hasn't. Donald Trump has never filed for bankruptcy. Not once. Corporations that Donald Trump has been involved with, been a partner of, or a lead actor in have filed for bankruptcy. That's true. 6 times. What's your point? Everyone always looked at the Trump Towers in New Jersey, Atlantic City as a Trump thing. He only did a small portion of that. People licensed his name. He got a small portion of it. He sold his portion, and then they went bankrupt. That wasn't on Trump. That's a lie. Donald Trump has never filed for personal bankruptcy. And, it's interesting that they get angry. It's like Dave McCormick here in Pennsylvania. Dave McCormick has a home worth $12.7 million in Connecticut. He was a hedge fund manager and lived up in Connecticut to run that hedge fund. Dave McCormick grew up middle class, lower income here in Western Pennsylvania, and he made it big. Went to West Point, Army officer, a veteran, and made it big. Became wealthy. And suddenly, rising from middle income or poverty to wealth makes you a bad person. It's a lie. These people hate the American dream. They hate equal opportunity. They hate opportunity. They hate people having a chance to improve their situation in life. They like to decide where you're at. Kamala Harris is where she's at because someone decided she's going to be there. And first and foremost was Willie Brown, whom she opened her legs for. Crass? Statement of fact. A unsavory. Look, it's one thing to have an affair, and I don't judge people for that. It's quite another to have an open affair insulting the spouse with children in the home when the guy's the mayor of the city. That is beyond disrespectful and rude. Harris did nothing with the cartels. All those kingpins are earning billions of dollars. Yeah. Funny part is his TV show actually was funded by liberals. Pretty much made him, if they believe that. What? You talking about The Apprentice? No, Donald Trump wasn't made by The Apprentice. Donald Trump was made by Donald Trump's real estate deals. Donald Trump has been a celebrity for decades. He was on television shows. He was on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was on Silver Spoons. He was on a lot of things. He was a well-known. He had commercials. Everyone wanted him. He had the Trump shuttle. Eastern Airlines he bought from them. He built fantastic properties, golf resorts, things all over the world. He was not made by The Apprentice. The Apprentice came much later. It gave him global fame that some people had heard, but everybody knew who Donald Trump was. Yep. Trump was on Oprah. She loved him. All the liberals, all the black folks loved Donald Trump until he ran for president. Yep. Yeah, so that's the truth of the matter, folks. Yep, that's the truth of the matter. So, Harris mentioned the cartels on her Fox News interview. Yep, okay. Real estate mogul. Yep, yeah, absolutely. The ultimate real estate mogul. And they said he'd lose. I said he would win. And I was correct. I said he would win in 2020. However, I expected that Pennsylvania would adhere to the rule of law, which it didn't. The Supreme Court of Pennsylvania allowed the governor to violate Act 77, a law that wasn't even a year old. And there you have it. All right, folks, I've got to prepare some rugby banners for this weekend. I will probably not cover the Sharks game because it looks like I'll be a guest speaker at a Trump training rally in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So I'm looking forward to that. Created thousands of jobs in New York City. Oh, yeah. Yep, that's true. Yep. So if I am speaking at the Trump rally not with Trump won't be there. It's a Trump trainer. It's a Trump supporter rally. And I've been asked to speak at it. If they fit me in, then I'll go to that, and I will not be covering the Sharks game. But I'll cover the other URC games for South African sides this weekend. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather here, folks. Hopefully it's just something I can shake off pretty quick. The PDB made an excellent point near the end of this podcast talking about the stages that sons go through with their fathers. Watch it. I don't even know what the PBD podcast is. Is it on YouTube? I never heard of it before. And the dude was not particularly attractive, so he must be smart or something because I didn't hear what he said. I just saw his face. Anyway, that shouldn't be the reason why you watch somebody, but it's the reason why a lot of people watch the internet. Asked him a thousand of times to watch PDB. Oh, that guy. Yeah, okay. Well, you guys, no. Okay, no, Pablo Charlie. You asked me to go on his program. Well, get me invited on his program. I'll be happy to go on the guy's program. But, I mean, if the guy has Trump on there, I doubt he's going to have me on. Seems like an unlikely sort of thing. Pork Leaker says, I just watch the people that everyone dislikes and then I get the news. Well, the problem is that that's all fine and dandy, but if YouTube hides you, if Twitter hides you, and they're still doing that, by the way, don't believe Elon Musk, free speech nonsense. That's a partial truth. Yeah. I know he had Trump on. He had him on today or yesterday. Okay, PBD. That's okay. Well, you didn't say that. I didn't know that was what it was called. I've heard that because I said that sounds Jewish. Bet. And then somebody told me he's actually Persian. So maybe that's why it's not so attractive. Oh, there's some very hot Persians out there. Yeah, this channel is seriously hidden. So anyway, look at this right now. 14 people, and Kamala Harris is in the title. Even the liberal haters ought to show up right now, except that they're not finding it. But I will say that I really, really have that Trump video. Let me give you an update on that Trump video, folks, and then we're going to do the map. Then we'll do the map before we wrap up. But let me go ahead and get to the Trump video. The Trump video. I want to show that to you. It's pretty cool. It's still going. By the way, I'm at 21,301. I'm rapidly approaching the highest peak ever for subscribers on this channel, just because of one video. That video, the Trump video, is now at 92,535 views. So let me show you what this looks like. Do I have the screen here? Just a second. There it is. So that's the Trump video, 92,000. It's now 6 days old, almost a week, and it's gotten 15,000 views in the last 48 hours. It's tailed off a bit. I've gained 1,200 subscribers, and that video has generated $468 of ad revenue. $468 of ad revenue. Now, that's not my best performing video ever for advertising, but I mean, I usually get like a few cents or maybe $1 or $2 off a video if I'm lucky. $468, that one. YouTube takes 45% of that, so I get 55 times 4, so I'll get about $225 of that, so not that much, but that's absolutely incredible. So when you see channels like Crowder and PBD and these others, they can make a living doing this. I mean, if I had one video a week that produced $500, that's $2,000 in revenue just from advertising, but I don't have that. Yeah, because they hide my stuff. He's an Iranian Assyrian, that's why they interviewed the Crown Prince. Yeah, okay. Interesting watching. Get Trump admit his emotion. Okay. You can do that. Well, Pork Leaker, I can do that. My content is good enough for that. It's a reason why I get invited onto many different shows, although not much lately. I don't know what's going on there. But when you're hidden, you can't do it. In fact, I talked to someone today who didn't make any sort of promise, but the person was asking questions which led me to believe that they were curious about what if I set my own domain and my own private server up and ran my own website, something that old Scotty Balson tried to do. What would that cost? So I mentioned that. So someone that really likes my content. So anyway, I've done some, I run the numbers on it, but it's really time consuming is the problem for me. Even on YouTube is getting pretty annoying with ad blockers. They're blocking them now. I suggest everyone use Firefox. I use Firefox. Yep. YouTube algorithm is nuts. That's why I stopped doing YouTube videos. Right, Dave. And isn't it weird that video somehow evaded and was promoted by the YouTube algorithm to 92,500 views? 92,000 views is more than all views I've gotten on that channel in the past 18 months. Well, pork lecker, it's not a bad idea, except that it would require dedicated people to manage it. I would have to have someone manage it for me. Yep. I wouldn't even have to have it here. I just have to have it accessible. But yeah, it's if I had it here, I'd better control over it. But it's something I've considered for a long time, especially when YouTube starts censoring me. But I need a breakthrough. I need to get to 50,000 subscribers on one of my channels to have enough of a density that people would follow me over. Yeah. That's why I do video editing, whatnot. Well, I do video editing. I'm not the best at it. If you watch my videos, you'll see that I do that. I use Wondershare, which is a great suite to do it, but it's kind of annoying because they keep coming with updates, and I bought a perpetual license, but apparently it's only for one version. And they did it to me twice now. They hoodwinked me. But I need someone that can manage servers, can manage websites, someone would have to deal with the emails that come in, someone would have to deal with the membership stuff, but because all of that's done for us right now. If we had memberships, if we took advertising on that platform, I mean, if I just had some rich guy that said, here's $2,000 a month, just go crazy, do what you want to do, I just want you to have free speech, then it wouldn't be a problem. We wouldn't have memberships, we wouldn't have advertising, we wouldn't try to raise revenue. But without that, somebody's probably going to expect some kind of return on investment and want me to generate some revenue. And I'd need infrastructure for that. It's not easy. Yes, you need an IT nerd. I can do those things, but that's all I would be doing. I wouldn't be making content. Yep. Yeah, Hendo's right. That video shows what my channel would be like without the censorship. And let me just talk about the follow-up videos to that, okay? So I tried to ride the wave of that video, right, by producing other content that should be of interest. So let me just tell you the one that followed that. The next video I did was Coachella, yet another assassination on Donald Trump. Or was it? Now, a third assassination attempt against Trump. This was big news. 744 views. 92,500 views in the next video. And I didn't do it the next day. I gave it 2 days later. And it was when it happened. 744 views. The video after that, drone forces flying over restricted military airspace for 17 consecutive days. The Biden administration does nothing about it. Langley Air Force Base drone swarms covered up by inept Biden-Harris regime. 333 views. 333 views. You gonna tell me I'm not censored? Donald threat is a threat to democracy. Well, Democrats love that. That's their favorite phrase. 254 views. Kamala Harris lies about immigration to Brett Barron interview with clips of her lying about it and then my analysis. And I dare say that was well edited together. 162 views. The 4 prepared videos I've done in the 5 days since that 92,500 view video have a total of 1,400 views. That's censorship. Oh, content does take a lot of time, Dave. I'm well aware of that, particularly travel videos. I'm in Canada. You're not getting US views. I get views. Of course, it's wrong, pork lecker, but there's a reason for it. I'm a threat. So pork leaker. I'm a threat. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's because they can't impeach my bona fides. I'm not some, Cheeto eating, beer swilling dude sitting on his couch talking stuff and using profanity like Salty Cracker. That wasn't a slight on Salty Cracker. I'm just making a point. And I'm not like Viva Fry. I'm not a Canadian bar registered attorney who lucked into the truckers rally and got famous for it and then does videos oftentimes on things he doesn't know about. But anyway, he's still entertaining. And he does know a lot about the legal system in Canada, but certainly not in America. And got famous and got hundreds of thousands of subscribers because of that. I had the misfortune of getting caught up in the censorship regime in late 2020, early 2021, before I became famous on social media. And my bona fides are genuine. Viva Fry is a Canadian. U.S. doesn't care about censoring him. I'm an American. I'm a retired U.S. Army colonel with 36 and a half years service. 23 years overseas, multiple combat tours. I speak 6 languages, 3 of them are African languages, three of those languages fluently, others to varying degrees of proficiency. I'm a published author in academic circles by Stellenbosch University in South Africa, by the U.S. Army War College. I've taught undergraduate students at Iowa State University and postgraduate students in national security strategy, macroeconomics, and international relations at the Army War College. I have served at the National Security Agency, where I ran a $3 billion acquisition program as chief of staff. Global enterprise, thousands of employees. I have served at the Defense Intelligence Agency, where I was the deputy division chief for the Africa division and the branch chief for Central and Southern Africa and an analyst. And I wrote for the President of the United States multiple times, including one report that saved 640,000 people in Southern Africa from starving to death. I have run HIV programs, tuberculosis programs, Ebola programs, research programs, built schools and clinics, had naval exercises, air exercises, hunted terrorists, taught African militaries to obey the rule of law. I have intervened in operations, the evacuation from South Sudan, the deployment of troops to the Central African Republic, the Hunting for Joseph Kony mission, Operation Observant Compass. Name it, I've been there. I've done it. I rose from private to sergeant to lieutenant to full colonel, serving all over the world. My bona fides are unimpeachable. They're genuine. They're legitimate. They're real. And I'm a self-funded journalist, independent journalist who travels the world, particularly Africa and the United States and Europe, to report on events and meet people and interview people. I was in South Africa for the elections, self-funded, cost me a fortune. And that's apparently a threat, so they come after me. Well, pork leaker, that's only a portion of the resume. I've been decorated by the governor of Liberia, one of just, I think, 23 people ever to receive the award from Liberia for my efforts to rebuild the armed forces of Liberia. I've been decorated by the governor of Hesse in the state of Germany for my efforts. I've also been decorated endlessly by the U.S. military for participation and for accomplishments. Yeah. So I have a LinkedIn profile. You can find that below the video. You can go check out some of the stuff, and you can read some of the things that I posted on there. So this is one of the reasons why, and the other thing too is that they always want to label you something. When I started on doing these videos on social media after I left active service in 2020, early 2020, when the lockdown scam started, when the Wuhan scam started, that was real. It was real. It was a real virus. No one's denying that. But the political response was a scam. When that happened, I was immediately attacked by leftist trolls who called me a white supremacist and a Klan member. I mean, all kinds of slander with no basis whatsoever. And they thought they'd get away with it. And the reason they did that is because they fear my bona fides. It's just, I mean, I've been called a so-called colonel by some self-pleasuring wackadoodle that lives down under because he had penis envy because my channel was taking off. And I don't know why. That channel had 100,000 subscribers, so I don't know why he was upset with me. But I'm not a so-called colonel. I'm an actual colonel. That's how I survive. I got a retirement check from my 36 and a half years of military service that I earned and the sacrifices I made for my body and for my nation. And so I'm not so-called. Also, I'm very frugal and have saved and invested my entire life. So I'm not a wealthy man, but I'm not quite eating cat food. So anyway, it's an impressive resume and why I come here. Damn. That's why it's cool. It's very unique. Also, it's funny because on my other channel and on this channel initially, people were fascinated to find out who I am. Who is this guy? What does he know? I mean, we want to know more about him. And people were always asking in the beginning about, show us your ribbons, show us your decorations, show us your military awards, tell us about this stuff. And if you look behind me, do you see any military decorations? Do you see any awards from foreign countries? Do you see any photographs of me with famous people? Nope. I know famous people. I've been around famous people. I don't really care. Fame is not exciting stuff. But you don't see any of that back there. What you see are things I value. Those rugby balls, time, which is the most important thing to value, and books. Books. Lots of books. Education and reading is what really matters. So those are the things that are most important. That's why that's behind me. Those aren't books back there to make me look smart and erudite. I can make myself look smart and erudite if I want to. Those are back there because those are things I focus on. And many of my viewers know I often pull those books off the shelf and reference some of them or read from them. Yep, I have books on history, books on politics, books on geography. I picked up another book today from Costco. I hadn't been to Costco in 2 years, and I stopped in Costco on the way back from the medical clinic because it wasn't too far away. And the Costco's way out of my way usually. So I'm actually a humble person, but I was accused. The point of all this was that I was repeatedly accused of, being self-promoting and so full of myself, and look at you, talk about yourself. I'm like, what are you talking about? In the going on 5 years I've been doing this now, I think you could correct me if I'm wrong. I think I may have done 4 broadcasts in which I brought my medals out and I showed the certificates and I showed the medal and I explained what they're for. And I didn't even cover all the stuff. Didn't even cover all of it. I just showed a fair portion of it because people thought it was interesting. The decorations for my service in Bosnia, the Gulf War, and in Africa, and in at other places. I did it because people find it interesting. It's a way for them to connect with you. And also, quite frankly, who am I going to show it to? I mean, it's not hanging on my wall. I know a lot of people who hang all their decorations. I get letters from President Trump and letters from President Bush and letters from Obama. No, did I get one from Obama? No, I didn't get one from Obama anyway. But I got letters from all these guys and and other people, and they're not framed and hanging on my wall. I'm not ashamed of them. But it's, I'm very much a self-deprecating person. I don't take myself that seriously. But I do take people's rudeness seriously. No reason to be rude to people. I do take that seriously. So anyway, but I have nothing against people who hang things on their wall. They should be proud of it. But I'm also proud of the little things. I popped out this the other night. We went through this. This is a container full of coins and other little knickknacks and mementos of places I've been, things I've done, which used to sit on my bookshelf in the War College. And I accumulated this, and I took these things in because they just sat in a box somewhere. I had this thing open here. And one of the coolest things I have in here, if I can find it again, it's the Berliner Bear. Where is he at? There he is. This was given to me. This is a little thing came out of like a Cracker Jack box, a little secret toy surprise inside. This was given to me by a colleague, a civilian colleague at the War College, I think it was the War College, who gave this to me because I was a bundle of energy and knew everything and got involved with everything. It's the Tasmanian Devil, the little cartoon character, the Tasmanian Devil. That person nicknamed me the Tasmanian Devil because of my whirling dervish energy and speed involved. I actually cherish that. Look at that. I still retain that. It's pretty cool. But it sits here. If I have an office again, there you go. Yeah, it is kind of small. But anyway, so yeah, my resume is like 7 or 14 pages long, depending on which version I go with, all the different things. Tasmanian Devil with the beard. All I have is audio of my grandfather, and he talked about hiding Jews in Holland during World War II. That's fascinating to hear, Port Leaker. I'm sure that would be. I've actually written a book. I've written a few books. I've written a personal book, self-published, but I didn't really pass anybody because it was just a genealogy book. I wonder if I even I don't think I have it on this computer, but I have it somewhere. Probably. Anyway, it's not really important, but I have it somewhere. But yeah, I wrote a book about genealogy over 20 years ago after traveling to Germany, tracing my family history down in the northern part of Germany at the Wiehengebirge in a little town called Lübeck. Not Lübeck, but Lübeck. Yep. Yeah, it's Christmas time soon. We'll have the Christmas streams on the other channel. Yep. It's unreal. There were bombs dropping all over because they were close to a railway. Yeah, no doubt about that. No doubt about that. All right, folks. I was only going to go for half an hour, and here it is, nearly an hour. Tomorrow, I've got the final day of consulting for this week, but we are way behind because Monday was a official holiday. It was Columbus Day here in America, so there was no work. Tuesday, the automation was not set up, and I discovered something. My account was deleted, and I found out why. It turns out if you don't use your card to access the military's network, once every 30 days, they deactivate your account. No one mentioned that to me, and I'm no longer active duty, so I don't access it every day. Wrote a book on personalities. Took me 2 years. There's nothing wrong with that, Dave. I wrote the book in genealogy in just a matter of weeks. It's only about a 35-page book. Includes images and charts and some research on the family. It takes us back into the 1760s or thereabout in Germany. But I also wrote another book, and I've talked to people about that before. So there's two of the books that I'm a contributing author to. I didn't write the whole book. Building Partner Capacity in Africa, Keys to Success. There you go. So, U.S. Army War College Press. And The authors down here, Catherine Hill Herndon, Genevieve Lester, Tom Shepard, my colleague from War College, Adrian Wolfberg, and William Wyatt. And then this one here, published by Stellenbosch University. I was supposed to be part of another book project, but I was unable to finish it because of other things going on. Oh, it got cut. When did that get cut? This book here is Expanding U.S. Military Command in Africa, Elites, Networks, and Grand Strategy. Yep. So that one's kind of cool. Let me see if I can find my chapter in here. Yeah, The Genesis and Origins of U.S. Africa Command. That's my chapter. Yeah, I hung out with Elvis Presley as a child, too. So I'll just read a little bit from this. On 6 February 2007, the Bush administration announced its intention to create a new unified combatant command, the United States Africa Command, or AFRICOM. The U.S. Africa Command, colloquially known as AFRICOM, officially appeared on the global stage in October 2007. Prior to that date, there had never been a command specifically assigned responsibility for all of Africa. Rather, other commands shared responsibility, effectively creating gaps and necessitating coordination between separate commands. The new combatant command had a troubled birth, stemming from several false impressions, a few missteps, and some naivete within the U.S. Department of Defense. Several valid questions have arisen relating to the creation and formation of AFRICOM. What is AFRICOM and how did it come about? Why did the U.S. government create it? Is it different from other combatant commands, and if so, how? Now, over a decade old, has the command evolved into what its proponents or detractors predicted? Has the presence of Africa Command had any positive impact on African countries or African security? These are but a few of the many legitimate questions Africans and Western observers asked after the public announcement of the command in 2007. The Bush administration had legitimate reasons for creating the command. Nonetheless, AFRICOM had to overcome skepticism, resistance, and even open hostility to its creation. While the questions and concerns that many Africans and Americans raised about the new command at that time were valid, a decade plus of experience now provides us the opportunity to reflect on the concerns by reviewing AFRICOM's actions and impact of its existence. This chapter reviews and addresses the origins of the command and the reasons for its creation. Anyway, so I've got U.S. foreign policy leading up to the creation of Africa Command, early resistance and criticism of an African command. So I'll just read another paragraph here. While some analysts posited that AFRICOM is a consequence of Washington's obsession with the post-9/11 global war on terrorism, that was a misreading of events. There already existed an institutional lacuna within the American defense establishment. The following are instances of such a void: the absence of organic troop resources to fight terrorists at the outset, the endless mantra of engagement from AFRICOM's first commander, General William Ward, and DoD's history of ignoring terrorist organizations and activities across the continent, such as the People Against Gangsterism and Drugs and the Boer Mob in South Africa, murders of tourists in Egypt, and al-Qaeda attacks on American embassies in Nairobi and Dar es Salaam in 1998. The current focus on counterterrorism is an al-Qaeda era, an Obama-era development that in large measure grew out of a reaction to the intervention in Libya, Operation Odyssey Dawn, which emboldened al-Qaeda-affiliated groups in North Africa and the Sahel, as well as led to prolific weapons trafficking out of Libya. Yep. In reality, the creation of the command had little to do with the desire to intrude into African affairs, concerns over extremist terrorist desires to militarize U.S. foreign policy, or plans for military bases. Some of that, especially concern over violent extremist groups originating in Africa, came after the command came into existence. Readers are likely to be somewhat surprised to discover that the key architects of AFRICOM's instantiation were far more concerned about how the U.S. can avoid military involvement in Africa rather than expand it. This is partly because the continent was a key distraction for Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld, who was more interested in events in Iraq and Afghanistan. Others within DoD saw Rumsfeld's desire to minimize African distractions as a timely opportunity to resurface a nearly 2-decade-old desire for a command focused on Africa, rather than the three commands having shared and disjointed responsibility for U.S. defense and security efforts across Africa. Anyway, it goes on. The notion of a combatant command and intensified opposition, empirical reasons for creating Africa Command. I'm impressed with myself. This is really well written. I wrote this like 2017. The African final imperative to create AFRICOM, the military base in Djibouti and further limit expansion in Africa, and concluding remarks on the current status of AFRICOM. And look at that. That's all those bookmarks. Look at, or not book, all those endnotes. Look at that. See, it's well researched. Actually, another couple more pages of endnotes. I actually interviewed the people who were responsible for setting up. Anyway, that's that one. And I got another chapter in this one. So that's a couple of books that I've published. So the problem Port Leaker, is that they cannot refute my bona fides. They can call me names. They can say that I don't know what I'm talking about. But what letter did you get from Trump? Oh, retirement letter, Dave. When you retire, you get a retirement letter from the commander-in-chief if you're a full colonel or above. Only full colonels and above get retirement letters from the president. So I have a letter from Donald Trump, signed, not printed, signed by Donald Trump, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Well, it's not impressive. It's just I got it because I was a colonel. If I was a lieutenant colonel, I wouldn't have gotten one. It is kind of cool. I just didn't want my letter signed by Obama. That's why I hung around longer. I also didn't want it signed by Biden, but it wouldn't have mattered. I had to retire in October 2019. It was I timed out 30 years as an officer. Yeah. So yeah, that's what the letter is from Trump. Yeah, but Trump doesn't know me. Yeah, he doesn't know me from Adam. Yep. So anyway, I think I got a letter from Clinton too. So I served while the following were presidents: Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, and Trump. 6 presidents I served under. 6 presidents of the 45 I served under 6. Wow. I've done that before, Dave. I'll be happy to do it again. I'll dig them out. Yep. Yeah, I'll dig it out sometime. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also didn't mention Pork Leaker that I've served. Did I say the countries I served in? I know I mentioned. I don't think I mentioned 3 tours in Germany, 1 Italy, Tunisia, Liberia, Botswana, Malawi, Nigeria, Mauritania, Uganda, Ethiopia. Those countries I served in Africa. Plus the Bosnia campaign, the Kosovo campaign, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, all that nonsense. Yep. Never went to Afghanistan, though. Never did Afghanistan. Statement of fact there. And look at how few people tune into this broadcast. Unbelievable. Yeah, so anyway. I got a dislike on the other video. Well, I'm real sorry for that. So let me put that. That's going to be hidden. Private. There we go. So that's private now, the other one. So no one will go to that one by mistake. They'll just find this one. Anyway. Yep. Thank you for the hearts. Yep. All right. So, folks, I said I was going to stay for 30 minutes. I've stayed for an hour. We've introduced the concept of the Mayflower Compact. What do you think of that? Do you like the name? And we'll make this a segment on this channel and go forward from there. Tomorrow, if I have time, I'll do broadcasts from my phone, maybe 1 in the morning if I get up early enough. I was too tired this morning, didn't feel well. And then tomorrow night, I have to meet with my colleague who's coming down from New Hampshire, and he's organizing the Trump rally in Harrisburg. So, and also got to get the rugby set up for this weekend. Yep. Little fact, like or dislike means nothing to YouTube. Either one gives you ranking. That's correct, Dave. I know that. It doesn't matter whether you like or dislike. It's fine. All it does is hurt someone's feelings or make someone feel good about themselves. But likes do have an impact, just like comments on the video have an impact. And chat has an impact. When the chat rate is high, it draws people in. And that's like when I'm doing rugby and I get animated and a score happens and people get excited and start chatting. The chat rate soars up, and then suddenly YouTube, because it might be one of the few things that's covering that, puts that on people's For You Now. The algorithm just pulls it up. And that's how I got to 113,000 views with the Springboks game against Argentina and Nelsbrett. It's just the lack of exposure by all metrics. He should have waited. Oh, Pork Leaker, yeah, I know. I should have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I will match my content up against anybody. My bona fides, my experience, my analysis, my predictions, which are overwhelmingly accurate. Not always, but overwhelmingly accurate. And my grounded basis for my analysis, and also my holistic view of things. I mean, I look at things across the board. You know, no one's talking about national debt in this election except me. I'm talking about it. Talked to my colleague tonight, not on air, but private, about the looming debt crisis and the only reason why the dollar hasn't collapsed so far. But anyway, yeah, but the problem is that exposure. People have to find you. And what's fascinating to me is that the Trump video, which has 90,000+ views, 92,500 when I last looked, let's see, probably maybe a little bit more. Yeah, 92,500. Let's see if it's gone up by another 100 or not. 92,600 has gone up another 100. Yep. That video, which has gained 1,200 subscribers on a channel that was down to 20,096 subscribers, has 7,000 hours of viewed content, but it's not translating into views on my other videos. Why? Because people are subscribing and they're putting the bell notification, not getting notified, and then not being told my videos are coming back up. So if they forget about me, which they could do very easily, then we don't see them come back. How is Vance doing? Vance is doing very well, very impressive. He's the most impressive person on a campaign trail right now. Yep. Yeah, that should translate into views. That's correct. Anyway, but thank you all for being here. By the way, Pork Leaker, if you're not familiar with my other channel, which is the one I put more of my effort into, this is the original channel that was censored and removed by YouTube for 2 years, nearly 2 years, and I appealed it for a third time, and then they restored it. You're very welcome. But at Colonel Chris Wyatt, Colonel, Chris Wyatt, all together, one word. Go check that one out. If Hendo is still here, can you put the link up there for my at Colonel Chris Wyatt, if you don't mind, and let Pork Leaker go subscribe to that channel. All right, please go to at Colonel Chris Wyatt. I do a daily news program there. It's based on South Africa's 6 p.m. time. So right now it's 6 hours difference. So normally, except when I'm doing consulting, it's every day, 7 days a week, unless there's rugby or I'm traveling or doing consulting. So normally 90% of the time or more, it's 7 days a week at noon Eastern Standard Time, except on Wednesdays, so because I do another program after it. And then it goes for about an hour and a half. We do the news. Then I talk to my audience and engage and answer questions. And then I do prepared videos. That one's focused starting on Africa and working my way around the world every single day. All right. I'm getting tired, folks. I'm starting to get knackered here. So I will catch you all later. I think I'll make those banners for rugby tomorrow and go to bed now. But have a good night. Thanks for being here. Be sure to hit the like button. It costs you nothing but a moment of your time. It's just so easy to do. Staples knows the deal.
That was easy.
Thank you for being here, Pork Leaker. Sorry I kept wanting to say Pork Lecker because it's a combination of English and Afrikaans. But okay, vielen Dank. Ich bedanke mich heute alle unsere Zuschauer. Das war aber nett von euch hier mit uns zu sein. Unsere erste Sendung für dieses Programm, das Programm heißt Mayflower Compact. Tous, je suis très heureux que vous êtes là avec nous ce soir pour notre transmission. Le programme, il s'appelle Mayflower Compact. Okay? So, there you go. Cheers, everybody. Have a good night, and we will catch you tomorrow, either on my mobile phone, which was kind of cool, drive around, people like that today, or we'll do it at lunchtime. Anyway, cheers, and then we've got rugby coming up on Saturday. Don't forget that. I will be in Harrisburg potentially. If I'm in Harrisburg, I will try to go live and stream it. We'll see how that goes. That'll be pretty cool. I look forward to that. I'm glad I got asked. Unfortunately, I didn't see the invitation, and my co-host didn't mention it until the radio program Wednesday night. By the way, I didn't mention Pork Leaker. I'm on the radio at WSMN. That's 95.3 FM. Is it 13.9? I can't remember. 10.9. Anyway, but you can find it at WSMN.live. And look for the program. You can find it there. Or you can also find it here on this program. You can actually look. We started putting the broadcast on here. If you go to the lives, you'll find the Common Sense Conservative. That's the program. It's a radio program, but you can watch the video here because we broadcast it out over Facebook and here on YouTube. And so there you go. All right. That's it. Cheers. Have a good night. Okay, I'm in the other setup of some other scenes. So here we go. Had to find it. Closing. Cheers.